I'm going to call this meeting of the Recreation Committee to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of the meeting. Roll call. Oh, just a second, I gotta write into this at the same time. Bruce?
Aye.
Rich? No, I'm here. All right, not present would be Louis Stelzner, Tim Potras, Kelly Bayman, and Megan Bayman. All right, and then I want to thank Jessica for coming and Bob. All right, so I need a motion to approve the minutes from the September 13th meeting.
I'll give you a motion to approve the minutes, September 13th, 2016.
I'll second.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays? No. All right. And citizens' appearances, I don't believe we have any because you're both here for the corp. All right, well, let's go faster than I thought. The fourth thing was discussion on future events, and that was something that Dewey wanted to discuss, unless he talked to you about it.
Just, like I said, I've told you before, so.
Yep. So I guess we'll postpone that until he gets better.
Well, is that something Patrick wanted?
No, that's one of our other members. He had an event he wanted to discuss, something, an idea he had. But he didn't tell anybody really what it was, and he's not here, so
Got it.
we'll just wait. All right, well, that brings us down to what we're really here for today anyway, is discussion on the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. This plan here is from '04. We are supposed to be updating it every 5 years, and obviously we're just a little bit behind.
Yeah, way behind.
So we could either update it or start over from scratch. Jessica represents the extension, and she has graciously offered to help us update it, which should be a significant savings of both time and money for the city. And that's why I've asked Mr. Van Epps to join us, because he represents the lake group, and the lake is an extremely important part of our recreation plan for the city. And with that, I'm looking for help from Jessica.
Is that a lake association?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good.
What's your full name?
Jessica Beckendorf.
Okay.
I've been wanting to get to know some of the Lakes Association folks because I have not been doing any work in any water quality stuff, and partly because I haven't been asked to yet, so that hasn't been the focus of my work, but I've at least wanted to get to know. So
Your University Extension? Weyauwega? You're fairly new there?
yeah,
Okay.
it's been almost 2 years, but that's still pretty new for our positions.
I know we actually got together in 2008, and at that time we did a survey through the University Extension.
Oh yeah.
A rather in-depth survey. You may look back at that in your files, I'm sure you have it, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
That actually set the basis for us to actually get moving in the direction of seeing if we'd have public support, number one, and what direction we would or should take.
Well, we definitely should talk sometime soon. I'm not looking for lots of additional projects at this point, but I would like to know what the state is and what some upcoming projects might be in the next 6 months or so. Sorry about that aside.
Well, that's quite all right, because
It was not on the agenda.
well, it's not, but you're meeting and it's all part of,
It's related.
it's related.
Yep.
Well, I have had the chance of taking a look at your plan. Actually, Patrick sent it to me back, well, I don't know if we started talking about this back in August. I think it was just before that tragic accident.
It
at the
was,
pool.
it was July, August when we first,
Something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. And as it turned out, I had some of my own stuff going on at the time, so this timing works out better for me anyway. So I've had the chance to take a look at this, and I kind of wrote some notes down to divide it up into what it seemed to me would make sense. The things that probably should be updated. Essentially, it's the whole plan, but that doesn't mean that that this one needs to be blown up or anything, or that the current, what you've got here currently, I think there's a lot of stuff that actually might transfer, with a few updates. But it seems like some of the pieces that are really necessary to start with would be a demographics update. That's very clearly something that you'll want to take a look at now, because I noticed some of the language in here mentioned what was expected to happen.
Right.
And I think what was expected to happen did not happen. That rate of growth.
I think we're somewhere in between what the state thought and what the council at that time thought. We're
Yeah.
floating in the middle between the two of them.
Yeah. And I think that that's also a very easy thing to update, the demographics, so it wouldn't take very long, and it would perhaps generate some good discussion about where to go in the future with this kind of a plan. So that would be probably one of the first things you'd want to do, and then maybe have it presented just initially to you, or and of course anyone that comes, because it's a public meeting. But I think that a public input process, you'd want to design a public input process. There are lots of different ways I've been seeing things like this go, especially when it comes to things like parks and open space, things that attract people to live in a community. And we don't have to go over all the options I've seen, but there are some creative ones that get both elderly and youth involved, and not just everyone in the middle, because often a lot of times it's a lot of people in the middle, or they'll concentrate just on youth and forget about the elderly. And so I've seen some processes that have made sure that all of those groups are being included, and also could generate lots of great discussion in the community, and maybe a couple people would come to the meeting too.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I know it's tough, but things like parks people really care about. So I do think you could get some input, some decent input. Some of the things I've seen have been sometimes creative, like there will be they'll invite elderly, students, kids, everyone in between, to actually take photos and then have a gallery night. I know it sounds really hokey, but it works even in rural areas. A friend of mine works up in Marathon County, and she's working in a rural area right now where they asked each other, or they asked the questions, what does it mean to be rural? And it was like 4 or 5 other questions, and they asked people to submit photos, and people actually did. And through that information, they used it to create a plan. So there's lots of different ways, and we could explore. We could have a discussion that would explore what would be best for Weyauwega, or what your goals are as far as public input goes. Do you want to do a similar process to last week? And I'm not asking the question now, because I think I'm just kind of going through the things you'll want to think through.
Right.
So demographics update, public input process. I would actually place that before the demographics update, now that I'm thinking about it. Not necessarily getting the public input before you get the demographics, but planning the process out before you get to the demographics. I think something that could be done internally, like you guys could tackle it in between meetings, and maybe then talk about it at your next meeting, is crossing off what's been accomplished already or what's no longer relevant. Even if the goal itself is no longer relevant.
Question?
Yeah.
Don't you have to know the demographics before you cross something off or add something?
Well, I'm talking about their old goals, and
Yeah, even the old goals, I happened to review this extensively. There's a lot of goals that were pretty, they look pretty
Yeah.
And
promising.
all of a sudden, nothing,
And a lot of them
nothing
were
was
never
done there.
Yeah.
And
Nothing
a
was
lot of them
done.
were never
Yeah.
accomplished, so before you're adding or taking off, you only want to look at the trends demographically, what the population is and where it's headed?
And perhaps I was referring more to if you accomplish something that you had set out to do. Maybe I shouldn't have said cross off, and it's more of a let's make note of right now, make note of what's been accomplished and what hasn't.
Right.
Well, it's just a question, it's just,
No, I think that's fine. Some of this stuff happens parallel. So while you guys are reading through your goals, objectives, and then your action plan, and here's something Foth always did that I never got. Foth did the City of Menasha's plan when I was working for Menasha also, and they did a really great job, and I think everyone was doing it this way at the time, but there's goals, objectives, then there's recommendations, and then there's an action plan. And I wonder if there's a way to kind of put that all together
Yeah.
somehow. But what I was really more referring to when I was saying crossing off, so thank you for bringing that up, is we need to make note of what's been accomplished and what hasn't, and what you think is still relevant or not relevant anymore. We don't have to cross anything
Right.
off, because as you look at the demographics, like you were saying, you might say, oh, well, I didn't think that was happening here anymore. I didn't think we were getting that kind of growth,
Right.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then you might want to revisit what you thought. But I think it's something that could be done in tandem with while the demographics data is being gathered. So
good point.
yeah. Then the recreational resources, it looks like that's primarily information about what you've got. This is an area that I believe would still need to be updated, but probably, in particular, when you talk about natural resources, those often don't make dramatic changes in 12 years. So there's probably a lot of information here that we can still use. I would recommend that you guys read through it and add to. So for instance, if there's more fish species now, or maybe you don't know and that's okay. You can say, I don't know if there's any changes. Maybe we need to check with someone else. Maybe, especially when it comes to, is it Weyauwega Lake?
We call it Weyauwega Lake.
Okay, I always thought it was
Mill
Lake.
Pond actually, technically, because there's a dam
Yeah.
in there.
So maybe for that area, the Lakes Association might be able to help out a little bit too for updating that section. Another resource could be the DNR for some of that information, especially of course the water resources. Recreational facilities, I would think that that kind of update would need to come from you guys and Patrick.
Right.
So I'm guessing that there's going to be more change in there than there will be in the natural resources area. Your parks. So there's going to be a lot of stuff in this plan that you guys and or Patrick will be responsible for finding out the information about. However, you likely have a lot of this information pretty readily available too. The map is another one that will need to be updated, and I'm not sure. It looks like Foth did the map. I could check with the county. I could check with the county GIS person to see if he would be able to help out in this area. I was working with him on one other thing with the city of Weyauwega, but I think he was working on it mostly because I was going to be expanding it to the whole county. So I just need to check. I don't know have you guys ever had the county GIS department help you out with?
You might in
I
the
don't know the
past.
relationships.
I am sure Patrick has,
Okay.
I don't want to, I'm not in a position to speak for him, but I can't imagine him not doing that.
Okay,
with everything that's been going on in the city.
Our group has worked in the county.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so so something I'll do is I'll talk to them. Otherwise, if East Central is interested in helping out, because I don't believe that Patrick has applied for any of their free assistance. They offer up to, I think it's 3 days, but I believe it's often worth more than 3 days of assistance.
They're really helpful in this.
Yeah. And I should say for the record that I just believe that it's worth more. Maybe it does only take them 3 days to do. But, okay, so all of these different recreational resources in the map will need to be updated, and that I would say would largely be the information would come from you guys and Patrick. So this really could, some of it is going to stay the same. It's really just an inventory of what you've got, and if you don't like how long this is, we can shorten it up. It really depends on how you'd like to proceed. If you'd like it to be more of a list of what you've got, this does seem pretty brief to begin with for a plan period.
I was gonna say, I don't think we can shorten it up too much more.
Yeah. For a plan, it seems pretty brief. I think both did a really good job with that. Okay, then the last one were the recreational needs. This one was a little fuzzier for me. It would be easy enough to figure out, and it's something that, once I know what you've got, so once that part is updated with the current acreage of your parks and, all of that, have there been a lot of changes in the last 12 years with your parks and facilities?
I do not really believe so.
Oh,
No,
I don't think we've added or subtracted too much of anything.
okay. So maybe there won't be that much change there. So recreational needs, one of the things that, we would do is we'd still check to see if this rule of thumb of 10 acres of publicly owned space for every 1,000 residents is still something that's used. How did you guys use this section?
Honestly, I don't believe they used it at all.
Okay. I just kind of feel like I can see why they put it all in there the way they did.
I draw your attention to page 13 perhaps.
Yeah, I was
Right.
just looking at the
That,
facility.
The facility needs,
The location distribution of recreation facilities balances well, considering the city's existing development. However, the city is expected to develop residentially north of Weyauwega Lake and southeast of the County Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
Both areas are somewhat removed from the Weyauwega Community Park and public school athletic fields. The city should reserve a location in both areas to serve as a neighborhood park facility. I think it's something the city really hasn't looked at, just as an outside observer. Or maybe they have, but they haven't acted on it. Maybe the time has come.
I think this is a good section. I just, I wonder if it was used then to create some of the goals and recommendations, perhaps?
I think they started a vision and it stopped.
Okay.
They had the vision there and they had to draw it up and that was it. Nothing else was done. Because there's areas down here by Peterson Park, nothing's changed, in many years I've been here.
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, I didn't know it existed until Patrick said that it needed to be updated, and I did not know what it was. So,
Pearson Park's a good point. Does the
It
city
is.
own that or lease that? In this
Lease
sense, they
that.
lease it.
yeah,
Well, see, they sold that and Brad Kaminsky bought that.
Right.
He bought the big red building.
right,
The city has to maintain it. They kept the Peterson Park.
right.
Okay,
We
is
pay the
that a-
taxes
We
on it.
pay the
maintain
taxes,
it.
we do all the maintaining on it.
Is that like a 100-year lease or is that year by year?
I have no
That
idea.
would be a
Because that would
question.
influence how you would
Right.
what you'd want to invest in if it's only like a 1-year lease.
And I guess it depends upon what you call Peterson Park, because there's actually 2 Peterson Parks.
On that side and this side where
Right.
the dam is.
Now, on
The
the opposite
silos?
side,
That's Peterson Park too.
With separate,
it's, right,
With
they
separate
call it the
deeds and
same
separate-
thing. But I do believe on the other side of 110 that we own that, I believe. You don't think so either? We might not.
Oh, we,
I,
now you got me. I
that
don't
probably
say
would be
no.
a good thing to check
Right.
out to find out.
Right.
well,
exactly
and Patrick would know that if he
Right.
wasn't so sick, so.
All I know is Peterson Park, and it might be just that side of the lake that he has. 'Cause
Right.
He's got
I-
the building he has for storage and
Right,
stuff.
so I thought it was just that side because we have the boathouse and the swimming beach on the other side. So therefore, I assumed that was city
Right.
property on that side.
Now, that's
Could
city
be right.
property, the beach house is city property.
Right,
Right.
So that strip of land along the river is
I-
Peterson Park
yeah.
with a lease on it, but we don't know what kind of lease. Okay, be good to find out, I guess.
You know, I'm thinking something else now. So, let me just click, oops. Changes. Okay. I actually almost wonder if we ought to start with what changes have occurred since this plan. So the changes in your facility and, not the needs, what you've got. So the recreational resources, what changes have occurred there? Before demographics, before goals, what changes have occurred? Because if the answer is nothing, then I think I think what we could be looking at, I should say, it's really up to you. I think what we could be looking at is really more of a update and awareness. I mean, you said you didn't even know that this plan was around till Patrick brought it up.
Right.
Maybe this is a clean start, updating this, or maybe more changes have occurred than you thought, and we need to go deeper. But it does kind of feel like changes in your current facilities and natural resources might be first, and then and demographics could be gathered while you're doing that, and then we look at the goals and we do it as a discussion rather than a between meetings kind of thing. I'm not laying out a complete concrete process. I'm just kind of thinking
Right.
out loud here, because it is sounding, hearing you guys talking, it's sounding like it's very possible that not much has changed, and that's okay. If that has happened, then I bet a lot of your goals are still relevant, but then what we would be doing is reviewing the goals for changing demographics and for, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good goal, but let's add to it, or let's tweak it a little bit. Is that? Or you can add more goals if you want to. And I think that would be a conversation with Patrick, and you might even need to take a tour to look at the stuff that's
Well,
listed in here.
a tour would probably be a really good thing to look at these parks to see what we have, what we don't have.
Yeah. See that what's listed here is what is actually, what you've actually got.
It's what's available.
Well, beach area, it's not really a beach area no more. If you
It's,
look at it.
it's here, it's available if it isn't being used.
Right.
Even the county, how much is the county being used for the county fairgrounds?
Right.
You know more than I, is it being used a lot
Yeah,
for
Well,
the
it's
city?
being used here and there, you know,
But
they
is it
rent it
being-
out.
It
It could be used a lot more.
Is it being utilized the way it should be, I guess? if I-
I can't say if it's being utilized the way it should be, but if you go on the county site, frequently, most weekends, there is something going on there, that it is being used. Now, whether the whole fairground is being used or just a couple buildings, that I can't answer.
And there could be a note in here through conversations, there could be a section in here about utilization. I think that would involve trying to find out how things are being utilized, if at all. I mean, It's possible you guys don't see anybody at the beach area, but you may not be looking at the times that people are going down there.
Well, I see when I walk the dog, there's people down there fishing
Yeah.
a lot, but that's our beach area now. You know, they can't do nothing else but fish off the dock.
Right, we really shouldn't call it a beach area
No,
anymore,
it-
it's not a swimming
It used
beach.
to be a beach area.
Oh.
Yeah, at one time, up until, well, these guys would know better than me because they've lived here a lot longer, but was early seventies or mid seventies, up until then it was
Yeah.
a swimming beach.
Because of safety concerns and liability, I assume that your city bathing beach is the ideal place that you have ready, the one that's artificial.
Well, that is the ideal place, I'm just
That's
talking
one
about
that
the
would be
term we
utilized.
use, it's calling it a beach, and it's not really a beach on the lake
Yeah.
anymore.
It probably won't be utilized in that manner again, is
No,
what
I
I'm saying.
think the fishing that they're doing is the appropriate thing. It's an ideal spot for kids to fish and stuff like that.
Our group's looking at that.
So,
We're hoping to
But
work with the
it'd be
city.
really nice, that beach house that's there, that could revamp that, and make that a little shelter. You know.
It would be if that, I would be very much in favor of something, our group would, if the city would
Yeah,
be willing to.
make that into a shelter, there's parking there.
We're looking at, when you talk about plans, putting a plan together. We put together another plan that I gave you a copy of, and I had our secretary put this on the, in a format, electronic format that's accessible to everyone in the city.
Yeah, I was reading some of it
that's just for
tonight.
the lake.
Should be there.
Right.
This is for the lake.
Yeah.
There was one done in 2001, 2008,
Mhm.
1992 was the first one, and finally this one. This is the latest one, and all this planning, and so far not a whole lot's been done through the years, but that's changing.
That's
That will change.
a
It's
very
been
big
quite a
plan.
battle. I've been involved for 8 years. It seems like you don't make the progress you'd like to. One step forward, 2 steps back, but
Yeah.
it is moving. We're now working with the schools, and I'd like to work with the city too, to develop a youth fishing area this next year. Along the Peterson Park area, that's why I was asking about
Right.
the leasing. I know it takes a while to do planning and that, but quite frankly, I've waited long enough. I'm going to start moving on some things, and that's one of them. A very important one, I have the complete support of I was going to give that to you folks tonight, but just want to make you aware of it.
But, Bob, we really can't discuss that.
We can?
Oh,
You're kind of floating away there from
Okay.
the
Well, in the
agenda.
future, I'd like to
Yep.
discuss.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are the kinds of things you'll want to know. So if it's really not a beach area anymore, it's more of a fishing area, then make that change. But what do you guys think about starting with your changes or lack of changes? Reviewing that.
Well, personally, I agree with everything that the city needs to update on its own, looking at our resources and everything in that. I would like to see the demographics done, no matter what, and I earlier than later,
Yep.
because that's something, we ship it out, it's gonna take a little while to get back to us anyway, and things we could work on.
And I thought that that would be done at the same time as you guys just kind of taking a look at your current
Right.
facilities, because the demographics won't be difficult to pull together and put in a goal. But if you want that first, that's fine. It's just, it seems like just having the demographics but not knowing what's changed there wouldn't really be that.
Well, but the change would be stuff that the city would be doing. I mean, trying to figure out what we've done and what we haven't done is our in-house stuff.
Yes, but it would inform the next steps of the entire plan.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm saying if you do them at the same time, we sit down, we figure out what resources we have, what changes we have or have not made
Yeah.
in the last 13 years or whatever. And at the same time, find out what the new demographics are, old, young, what do they want, see where they mesh, where we meet, so that we can see where we're going.
Yeah, although the demographics won't necessarily tell you what people want. That's the public input.
Well, okay, you're correct there. I guess I was
Oh,
looking
okay,
at
sorry.
young, old more.
Oh,
What do
sure.
we have? Where
Does
are we
it-
going?
Right, do we have something for everyone? That
Right.
will tell you.
I mean, like we
Right.
got in here,
Yeah,
like for
sorry.
What?
Like-
No, I wasn't explaining myself well. I'm kind of, thinking on the fly.
That's all I ever do, so I get it.
in here we had like disc golf, that was how many years ago, and we haven't got that in here. We had, skate rinks for the kids, skateboards.
You had them?
No, that was all in this
Oh,
packet,
okay.
and nothing was done about it. So, I think that would be a plus, to try to get that stuff in here.
Yeah.
It might
We'll
be,
just finish up what we left off at.
right. You know, and there's stuff about shuffleboard, there's stuff for elderly.
Shuffleboard.
We really don't have anything for elderly. Do we have a lot of elderly? What is going on?
Yeah,
Are they mobile? What do we need? You know,
yep.
That's a good idea.
And that would be like the next conversation.
right.
Yeah, so, but, I mean, I guess what I'm thinking is, so if we just started with like demographics, and then you looked at what you had, there's still, like, just looking at your current inventory, you wouldn't need the demographics to just look at what you've currently got. Because you're just inventorying, like, what do we currently have, and has anything changed since this plan? Because then we'll get into the discussion of, okay, so now here are the demographics, and here's what you've got, where's the gap? I was gonna say where's the overlap, but where's the gap in most
All right.
numbers? I don't know.
Well, I'm
It doesn't
willing
matter
to
to me.
accept your, you know,
I mean,
proposal because you know more about it than I do.
No. It doesn't matter because really I could get that to you, but then I guess what I would be careful of if you started with just the demographics, and then use that to do your inventory. I would be careful to get into the solutions because you want to involve the public in
Right.
that part. So that's all I would say is I'm very happy to start with demographics because that's going to be quick, easy. It doesn't matter. I'm very happy to do that. I would just be careful that you're not creating solutions before you've had your public input.
You're suggesting some kind of a public meeting, get public input, to
Right.
see what they want?
I think you're gonna want some sort of a public input process, whether that's just a meeting where you're presenting some thoughts or trying to get thoughts from people, or whether it's something that would be more ground up if you thought that was even possible or feasible. It's going to depend on what you want out of that kind of a
Right.
process. So if you want people to tell you what they want, we would just want to talk about the best way to get that information. Maybe it'll be one kind of more fun workshop kind of meeting where we invite people in and they get to see some places I've done it where they put up these photos of other cities and other examples, and you ask them, what are some of the things, pick out some of the things that you really like to look at, or there's a lot of different ways to do that. I guess the reason why I thought about starting with what changes have been made and the demographics, or because then that would inform how to move forward in starting to plan the public input. So if it seems like your goals are if it seems like your goals are still relevant, maybe you want to just ask them, are these relevant to you?
Right.
Looking at the demographics and at what our current facilities are, it seems to us like these are, but what do you think? So that's why I thought if we start with those two things, then we can design the public input around that.
All right.
But I will start with the demographics because it doesn't really matter which one we start with. And I think if that takes some
So you just spent all this time saying that you didn't want to start with it. Now
well,
you're
no, I
fine
was
with it. I'll start
going to
with it.
start with it, but I was going to do it at the same
Political
time as you
move.
were gathering information. That's all.
It's called.
I was starting with it the whole time, just
This went a roundabout way of saying it.
yeah. I was just
Yeah.
going to do it at the same
Yeah.
time as the changes. But I do tend to be hasty, so I know that about myself. And if you guys aren't,
No, it's good.
No.
all right, good.
Being hasty is good. I'm kind of
Yeah.
hasty too, but
I don't mean to.
sometimes you gotta slow down.
Well, no, we've had years upon years of not looking at it.
Yeah,
If we don't start moving on it, we're never gonna,
yeah.
right?
Get
So
anything
you
done.
kind of gotta keep moving.
So I'm also going to talk with my contact at East Central, because they may have some other resources they could put into this too.
Mhm.
Like maybe they would be able to do a little more with the inventory, you know, or with the public input process. They might have a few more resources at their disposal that would, yeah, that would also lend some help in that area. So, I can have a demographic update to you, like, and then before your next meeting, for sure. When is your next meeting?
We don't know yet.
Oh,
We
okay.
haven't set that yet. We'll be
Well, then
setting
maybe
it by
I
the end of
shouldn't
this
say-
one.
Maybe I should say for
Yeah.
sure then. No, I can have, these demographic, updates to you pretty quickly. So even if your next meeting,
It's usually the second week of the month, the second Tuesday.
okay,
Maybe last time was moved up a week, so maybe we'll move this up a week.
No, we won't, because that would be
No?
election day, and that
Okay.
won't work very well.
Yeah,
We are probably looking at the 15th of November. I'm guessing right now, depends upon how everybody feels.
okay.
Now that we've jumped ahead.
That's a good Tuesday for me.
15th is a good Tuesday for you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the 8th that, oh, I guess the 8th is okay too.
Well,
Oh,
that
no, I'm
one,
out of the office on the 8th, never mind.
we don't want to hold a meeting on election day.
No, that would not be good. Okay. I am good that day. All right.
All right, so we kind of got ahead of that, but, okay, so you're gonna work on the demographics.
Yes, and I'll
And
have
you
it
would
ready.
like this, you would like us to work on, or go through this?
I think it could make our discussion really rich at your next meeting, but I'm okay if you don't work on it, and then we could work on that for December.
Well, we wanted to work on our rec needs, correct? And, resources,
No, just the resources for now.
just resources?
Yeah. The needs would come through the discussion with the following discussions and with the community.
Okay, so I'll work with Patrick,
Okay.
because that mainly, the resources is gonna come from him.
Mm-hmm.
And what Patrick doesn't have, Bob, I'll get together with you.
Sure.
It is budget time, so I don't wanna speak too much for Patrick
Yeah, yeah.
and put him behind the 8 ball when he's already not
And you
feeling
know,
well.
if it ends up being too much of a burden, let's put the changes in your facilities and natural resources till December. And I'll just go over demographics with you guys next month, that's fine. Either way, let's not
Okay.
put too much on him
All right, so,
if we don't have to.
and we'll see what he can get done, or what I can get done with him, or what he already has, because he may have a lot of this at his disposal already,
Right.
without him being here to ask him these questions. I'm not sure what he has. He seems to have a lot of stuff.
He seems to have a lot of stuff up here.
He has a lot of
too,
stuff
right?
up there, and he's got a lot of stuff in his computers and that, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I don't know about.
So, yeah, once we go through those two initial bits, we'll plan for the public input process together. We'll figure out what kind of input do you want, and if it's feasible, then we'll talk through all that. I'll bring you through a little discussion process that'll help us narrow down what you really want from that.
That would be really nice to do in the early January, February, because
That
for
sounds great
Patrick,
to me.
that is a little bit slower time for him
Yeah.
as far as stuff goes, because there's not a lot of projects going on, and there's, except for plowing snow, there's the budget's done and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
those are 2 months that
Frees
he's
him up
got
a
a little
little
bit
bit.
freer.
And I get it, and in a plan like this, I feel like, a big part of my job is, I'm gonna add the demographics, and I'm gonna be able to add some of the content, but really, you guys are providing all of the huge bulk of the content, you guys in the community. are providing the huge bulk of the content. I'm just helping it go through the process, and I'm helping to make sure you've got an inclusive public input process, and I'm helping to make sure that there's, that the plan gets pulled together in a cohesive, understandable way, and that it's something that could be a living document that you will actually, hopefully, be able to use. So,
Well, it sounds good. I mean, at least we have some sort of direction for next month.
we have a plan for
We have a plan. It's a start. All right? Gotta take that first step.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on this?
Well, when the time is right, I'd like you to ask me questions. Tonight may not be the correct time. I'm in no major hurry, but I sure would like to work with you.
It obviously, when we start to talk about what's in the water and our goals and what we want to do, the lake is going to be a huge part of it.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's why I asked you to be involved. So, and I knew that there probably wouldn't be anything too much up front, but if you don't know what's going on up front, I didn't want to drop you in the middle and not know how we got to where we got to.
I appreciate that, and you realize that we've been planning for 8 years now, so we're actually moving on some
Yep.
areas, and we would like you to be part of it as we move along.
Yeah, you might be able to provide some of that.
I'm glad to
Context,
work
yeah.
with you as long as they know exactly what I'm,
Yeah.
get the information.
We used to do a lot by the lake, we did water skiing, snowmobile racing, boat racing, with hydroplane racing out there. You
You-
know, boat jumps are out there behind bowling alleys. Gone.
It probably never will come back
No, I don't
completely,
think it will be.
but we do need a professional management plan on that lake, and that's the hope for the future there is to actually develop a plan, which we're working on, which we actually have kind of put together, and you have access to it now
Yep.
too. Oh, yeah, please.
I was reading something earlier.
It's very involved. There were at least a couple of surveys taken in here that we took, everything from Plymouth Lake District
Oh, that
to establish a Lake District to exactly what's happening, what the public wants.
that could be very interesting information that could help inform some goals too.
We had a very good engineering firm that helped us put that together over time. And,
Cool.
we will hopefully build on that.
Yep.
I guess first thing, we'll have a meeting, have the public say what input they want. You know, for their kids, what kind of recreational stuff, we'll go from there, huh?
Yep. All right. So I think we have a plan.
I think so.
All right. Administrators report. We don't have any because Patrick isn't here. The next meeting we said will be November 15th
November 15th.
at 6:30, okay?
Yep.
6:30, okay with you again?
6:30's fine, yep.
Okay.
What time did I better check to see what time I put it in here for. I put it in at 6, but that's okay.
Okay.
Means I'll be here on time.
All right. Are there any such other matters as authorized by law? Okay. Motion adjourned by Rich,
Second it.
second by Bruce. Got a motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:17.